to me, I've always believed that I was more, no offense to where I came from, but like I was bigger than that. I love where I came from. Honestly, I think it makes me as disarming as I am. I think I'm super down to earth. I love people in all types because I have a lot of respect, because that's a lot of like my family or where I came from of different status levels. And so I love that. No knock on that. But I just knew that I was going to do something bigger. And I started to put myself in places where I could walk in and know I belong here, even though I might have felt insecure at the time.
Hey kids, and welcome to Design by Wingnut Social. Today we are joined by Bre Hance of InHanceDesignBuild.com to discuss her journey from going to a builder grade kind of flipping design situation to transferring that over to attracting higher end interior design clients. She's a design build firm. If you head on over to InHanceDesignBuild.com, you can see her work. With 42,000 followers on Instagram, Bre is doing something right. So we discuss her journey, where that started, the steps she took in order to transition from doing the smaller projects, the less expensive project, the less profitable projects, to appealing to those higher end clientele, what that looks like, what she did, what you can replicate, and hear her journey. But before I get into my conversation with the amazing and lovely Bre, Wingnut Social is our sponsor, wingnutsocial.com. We are a digital marketing agency for you guys, home professionals, interior designers, architects, furnishings manufacturers, makers. Head on over to wingnutsocial.com. See how we can help you with your social media marketing, your search engine optimization. Would you like for ChatGPT to recommend you to a client searching for what it is that you do? Well, we are your marketing firm, wingnutsocial.com. All right. You guys know the drill. Let me tell you all about Bre Hance. Bre Hance is the owner and principal designer at InHance, a Los Angeles-based high-end residential design build firm. Over the past 10 years, InHance has designed over 200 single-family and multifamily residences nationwide. Bre's emphasis on bold colors, eclectic yet luxurious design, and philosophy of elevated everyday living, trademarked, has made her one of Los Angeles' most sought-after designers and design experts. Wingnuts, help me in welcoming Bre Hance to the show. Hey there, Bre Hance. Welcome to the show. How the hell are you?
I am freaking good. I'm excited to be here.
I know we finally got this worked out after buku technical difficulties, but here you are. And I must say, you look gorgeous. Your background is gorgeous. You're in full 1080p high definition for those of you tuned in to our YouTube channel, Designed by Wingnut Social. So we're ready to go. Has anyone ever told you that you kind of look like Miley Cyrus?
I have gotten that. I feel like it's our mouth and mannerisms a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, that's not a bad thing. Miley Cyrus is awesome. I love Miley Cyrus. Yeah, that's pretty good. And again,
growing up, I loved Billy Ray Cyrus. Does that age me though?
Achy Breaky Heart. his big hit. Yeah. His big hit was Achy Breaky Heart and Miley Cyrus.
I'll take it. Yeah, I do hear that every once in a while, though.
Yeah. So again, if you want to see how much Bre looks like Miley Cyrus, head on over to our YouTube channel, Designed by Wingnut Social, and let me know. What do you think? I think so. Can you sing?
No, gosh. Awful.
Me either.
Awful. Not even a hope.
Yeah, well, I sing way down by the Swanee River, way down, way down.
I love that. You know, I'm really, I have 3 little kids, so I'm really good at Twinkle Twinkle, Itsy Bitsy Spider, Over the Rainbow. Like, they don't judge me yet, so I can nail those.
You don't want to give us a little sample?
No. I'm going to stay in my lane as a designer, and I will make things pretty, just not that.
All right. So as I told the audience in your intro, you are the owner and principal designer at InHance, and your last name is Hance.
That's
right.
That's
a very, very clever name. And the direction of this show is in attracting more of a luxury clientele, a luxury market. And as an interior designer, you've had your firm for 11 years now. Is that correct?
That's right.
All right. So let's dig in a little bit. Let's talk about InHance, Bre Hance, and what that journey looked like, right? So when you started 11 years ago, was that the goal right out the gate? I'm just going to go and I'm going to attract luxury clientele, and I've got it nailed in from the start.
I think that's everyone's goal, right? Like, I'm going to do the biggest and best projects, the ones I see on TV. And like, I mean, sure, it's a lofty goal, but for me, it was just, let me get my feet wet. Let me figure out how to do this. I'm starting my own company. I'm taking the risk of going out there and building my own brand and marketing and finding my own clients. And it definitely did not start out that way. It's evolved into that. And I'd say I've gotten into the high-end luxury part in the last 4 or 5 years.
Really? Okay. So kind of like around the midway point, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about those first six years or so. So was your clientele, did it run the gamut? Were you serving luxury, maybe more middle class kind of clientele, or what did that look like? And what made you make the switch to the focus?
Well, an interesting part how I started was getting into my husband is an investor developer in Los Angeles. And so
Nice.
I had another job at the time and I didn't go to school for interior design. I have like the most unconventional path. And so I was designing for him as like a pet project. I'm like, let me just do a couple. I've always loved it. I've always had coined the term, I need to be dialed in. So like our offices, any of our homes, my parents' home, my bedroom, always, whatever, was always dialed in. So I feel like I had a knack for it. And then when he started developing, his first company was The Run Group, and it was redeveloping urban neighborhoods. So he was essentially flipping homes. And I started designing them. I didn't have a design package. I had no AutoCAD skills. If I showed an image of what those original design packages looked like, I had like red X's where electrical boxes would go. I had a bunch of arrows, a ton of notes and descriptions, and I was on site so much, like highly inefficient, but like you have to start somewhere. And so for my first probably like 2 years of business, I only designed for him. And then through that, I just kind of like bootstrapped it. Because he also owned his own brokerage that listed those homes, I would go in and like shake hands and kiss babies. I'd have a table. I had an InHance Interiors sign there. I just was like, hey, I designed this. Like me, it's Bre. Like no one knows me. I have no website. I had no
Right.
Instagram at the time, absolutely nothing. And through that, I actually got somebody who walked into one of the open houses talk to me. And he's like, hey, I'm doing a house in Beverly Hills on Clearwater, which ended up kind of being one of my more luxurious projects at the time. And he's like, do you have anything more high end or do you have a gallery than this? And I was like,
Oh,
I don't, but I just finished mine and my husband's first home. And it was off of Mulholland and we remodeled it. And it was the nicest project I had done at the time. And so I actually invited him and his wife to my house. And they walked in and I hosted them at my house. And that's how we just started to get, and he hired me. So just kind of through that and like really getting to know people, I've built it.
so that's a really good advice and a really good story to tell, to relate to interior designers and how to get that hustle out there and to get your name out there and to start getting the jobs.
You have to.
Okay. Did you have anything more high end in terms of the real estate or the design?
Both, because they were more flips, single family homes.
Yeah.
We didn't really have the budget to put a ton of money into the design, but it was a perfect starting ground. And because I was in the field rolling my sleeves up, like needed to figure out, because I didn't have AutoCAD, I didn't have the drawings yet, and I really didn't have the experience. Those first 2 years was like probably better than school, honestly. I was just in the field, made a lot of mistakes, like learned the hard way, expensive mistakes, embarrassing mistakes. Like one house,
Yes.
I literally picked, I wanted it to be this really pretty blue. It turned out purple. It was so bad. And luckily they'd only painted like one part of the facade, not the whole entire house. So that's the example of like just where the inexperience came in. But I mean, I'm the type of person who like tries to not make the same mistake twice. So I learned the hard way, but I'm like, all right, let me get every single swatch of this paint. I'm putting it in every sunshine now, like every sun going down, sun coming up. Like I am not going to have a purple house again.
Yeah, that's one thing that a lot of interior designers will say, I really want to break into the luxury market and the higher end, but I don't have the portfolio. My body of work so far isn't that. So how do I represent that? How do I show that to potential clients that aspirationally, that's the kind of work I want to do. That's the kind of work I can do. So when you took this gentleman, this client to your house, had you done your house to the level that was something that he wanted?
Yeah. And it wasn't as high end or expensive as his actual home in Beverly Hills because it was mine and my husband's first home, but it was really, really thoughtful, intentional. And I feel like I could show my potential despite the budget, right? It's just like I didn't cut a corner at that house. I really thought through coffered ceilings and floor transitions and outside of just like a pretty tile on a plumbing fixture. It was more of like how creative I am. And we had just finished it. So it looked so beautiful. And we had a really nice view. And my chocolate lab was like licking them to death. I was like, I seem disarming, right? And trustworthy.
Well, that'll do it.
That'll do
Anyone
it.
with a dog, anyone
Right?
with a dog.
Chocolate lab all day.
If you have a home and you have the budget, that's a really great way to start building your portfolio. It's your home. It's an investment in yourself, an investment in your business. That's what I did. I remodeled my entire home to have something to show for my portfolio before I did my design business. It's expensive, but it is an investment in your home. So there's a little bit of an offset there. So when you're doing that and showing them that, and maybe it wasn't exactly to the high end level that he wanted, but to you're showcasing your creativity and it's showing much nicer and what you can do as well there. Did you let him know that, okay, this was the budget we did this on, but with X amount of budget, I would suggest that we can do this? Were you winging it, or did you actually have a clear, direction of, yes, this is the high end stuff that I can do? Or, you know what I'm saying? Cause you learned the hard way doing the first 6 or 7 years that you did and made those mistakes. And now we're getting into a different echelon of design where you like, just give it to me, I'll figure it out. Or did you already have clear direction because of
Aren't we always kind of winging it? Like,
kind of, yeah. I'm winging it right now.
Always. Like I told you, I don't want to prepare for this. I was like, I just want to flow and go off like the cuff. That's more my style. Now, it's where opportunity meets preparation. Like I'm prepared and I had I had so many years in the trenches of doing what I had done. So I knew I could do a great job.
Yeah.
But I totally had to figure it out as I was going. He has a joke. I actually have a video of he's my first testimonial, and I did a video testimonial. And he talked about how long my emails were. Because I think and now I'm like 2 sentences. Like I know what I'm doing now and I have such a process. But I think when I was like writing out the process, I was like making myself understand it too. Because I'm still defining it especially with my first real client, not a developer, right? Like not my husband's company, which we still had an acquisitions team. I still had to get the download, basically like client intake form from them. I still presented to them. It was still a client and I was building my process, but having like a real client, I had to figure out my billing. It wasn't a flat fee. Like so much came with it that I was figuring out in real time that I just would stay up late and write long emails. And eventually it just started to make sense.
Well, that is a lot. You're right. Because when you're working for your husband's company, right, I'm sure that there was some accounting and billing going on there, but it's a lot different when it's client facing and it's not your husband.
Yeah. And let me clarify one thing too. My husband's company was my first client. So something it's fun that I always say is when I had done maybe like 3 or 4 projects for him, he was like, hey, babe, it would be awesome if you ran this department for me. He was really focused on having a vertically integrated real estate company that had investment, construction, design, brokerage. And I'm a pain in the ass. And I was like, how about you're my first client and I start my own company? And it was within that like first year of a few projects that I was like InHance Interiors, which was the name of my company before I dropped interiors because it was just like too specific. And he was my first client for a couple of years. And that's where the grassroots kind of marketing came in. I had no budget. Social media wasn't that big yet. And so it just was something where I was like shaking hands and kissing babies. And then it grew into this.
Better than shaking babies and kissing hands.
Thank goodness. So, that would probably make me go to jail.
That'd have been a terrible mix-up.
It'd be a bad mix-up.
That would have been awful.
Oh, man. I wouldn't be here today probably if that was the case.
Okay. So I too am a self-taught designer. I grew up, reading interior design magazines, doing my own properties, redecorating them, redesigning them, flipping them, selling them. And friends would start asking me to do theirs. And that just kind of grew. My mom owned antique shops and I was exposed to some high-end design growing up and conceptual stuff and arts. And so when you're breaking out of the builder, the builder grade flip kind of things, and you're going into high-end design, there is a piece of education there, right? To know what that looks like as far as when you're just breaking it down from the basics of furnishings and build quality and sofas and why some are built better than others and pieces of art or one-offs, or if you're curating things. Where did that knowledge come into play for you making that transition?
What a great question. Honestly,
thank you.
It kind of makes, I love reflecting inward, and I'd never been asked that question yet. And for me, I grew up different than you. I grew up in a very blue collar type of family. My dad is a drywaller. We were middle class, but there was nothing that was like any high end furniture pieces or anything like that. When I started my company and moving forward, basically when I met my husband, we started traveling a lot. And I feel like starting to stay in nicer places. And like I mentioned earlier, the details are really important to me. And I am also kind of like Rain Man. I never forget anything. And so, like, if I see something, yes, I'll take a picture of it because I want to store it and keep it for inspiration later. But like, I was kind of just like a sponge. Like, so much I wanted to learn and I pay attention to. And now, I mean, for spring break, we took our kids to Portugal, London, and Paris. In December, we went to Japan and we went to all the different places in Japan you could possibly go to. So, like, now for me, I feel like, which is very different than 11 years ago me. Like,
Yeah.
29-year-old Bre was just getting started. Same with my husband, didn't have a lot of money. But like, if you go to a nice restaurant, if you walk into a boutique hotel, like, I'm fascinated by boutique restaurants, and like hospitality design is awesome. And I get a lot of inspiration from that because it's so the opposite of builder grade. And so I think that naturally those types of things were inspiration for me because I didn't have the design magazines. I wasn't, again, social media I wasn't following accounts that inspire me yet. And so I think it was just paying attention. And I've always, though, lived like, we can talk about it later, but like I ended up in 2020 trademarking elevated everyday living. And
Okay.
that is just the essence of me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm into fashion and I love really nice things. At the same time, I was just at the lake wakeboarding with no makeup on and barefoot for 5 days and maybe showered 3 times because
Are you a Taurus? That sounds like a Taurus
I'm actually
activity.
a Scorpio.
Oh, okay. Okay. The other end of the
The
spectrum.
other end.
I grew up middle class as well. But for some reason, my mom, who has an IQ of 160, no kidding, she really does. She just had artwork and antique stores and my grandmother's antique stores. And we were basically middle class. But I remember being a child and sitting and eating like ice cream or cookies and stuff and going through Architectural Digest or, art magazines and stuff. And I was just, that's, so I think it, sans a formal education, what your travel trumps all of that for sure.
A lot.
I think just having the talent and the insatiable hunger to learn about those things and to be able to provide those as an artist, which as interior designers, we are artists. We're functional artists, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just curious how you bridge that gap because there was a bit of a learning curve. There is a learning curve in doing that because we don't know what we don't know yet. So if you're out there and you want to get high-end clients, just start traveling worldwide. That's not expensive.
No. Or walk into hotel lobbies and work from your laptop. Like, I think that boutique hotels, even Sense, like the way that they think about an experience is beautiful. And I think that there's so much to immerse yourself in that. Not that you have to go book a room there, because obviously that would be an expensive night.
Yeah, just go loiter.
Go loiter. Buy one drink at the bar. Go to the bar and get yourself like a Coors Light if that's the cheapest thing on the menu, or like wherever you're starting at. But like, visit those places. Like, to me, I've always believed that I was more, no offense to where I came from, but like I was bigger than that. And I was going to go, I love where I came from. Honestly, I think it makes me as disarming as I am. I think I'm super down to earth. I love people in all types because I have a lot of respect because that's a lot of like my family or where I came from of different status levels. And so I love that. No knock on that. But I just knew that I was going to do something bigger. And I started to put myself in places where I could walk in and know I belong here, even though I might have felt insecure at the time,
Yeah. So mindset is a huge piece of that.
Yeah, I think so.
So let's talk about mindset a bit, because when I first started doing my design business, I had friends that said, oh, now you can't be Darla. You can't be goofy, down to earth. You're going to have to be hoity toity and,
right,
put on airs. And I thought about that for a minute. I'm like, am I going to have to do that? And I considered it for a brief second. And I was like, no, I'm just going to be me.
Well, and that's what works best is like authentically being you.
Yeah. So this is what I want to ask you. So that there is a misconception that if you want to hobnob or have high-end clients, luxury clients, you're going to have to be fake,
right?
Not be yourself, right? My good friend, Nicole Heimer of Glory and Brand, said, you know what? People with money, the top 1%, whatever it is that you're looking to cater to, they're just people.
Right.
They really are just people. They have senses of humor. They have, so if you're yourself and you're offering the back end quality, the design that they want, and you're yourself, they're going to resonate with you. The people who are going to resonate you are going to resonate with you. If they're hoity-toity, if they're whatever, and that's your vibe, and you want to do that, fine. If that's you, that's fine. There's nothing against that. It sounds like there is because I'm saying hoity-toity, but you know what I mean, right? But it's better to be yourself and to get the clients you want you're going to get along with, right? Because it's a long-term relationship.
It's very long,
it could be a year, 2, 3 year project. So did you ever consider, oh man, I'm going to have to kind of zhuzh it up and maybe not be myself to see if I can, appeal?
That's, yeah, a really great question. I love that one. I have always been unapologetically myself. I can be kind of like, I don't want to say raw, or like rough around the edges. I say what I'm thinking. It doesn't necessarily mean that's negative, but like I remember sitting at tables when I was like, I met my husband when I was 23. He was an entrepreneur. He built a music company at the time. And we would go to these dinners with people who are much older than us. And it would be his investors and husbands and wives. And I'm like this 23-year-old girl from like a small, like from Arizona, who's like, I mean, played volleyball in college, athlete, but maybe the jock side of that, And I would feel super confident there, but they'd say words or phrases I had no idea what they meant. And I would just ask. I'm like, wait, so what do you mean by this? And they'd explain it. And I could feel the sigh of relief from the whole table being like, I'm so glad someone asked that because I had no clue what this guy was talking about. You know what I mean? And so my husband actually would compliment me on that. And it became something I became proud of, that I love getting to know people. So we joke that like I could leave a party and probably have like 15 new friends. And I'm like we talked originally, I'm like a Labrador, but it's genuine. I'm like really getting to know people. And I think that helps me connect, and I'm not afraid to be myself. But I will say, to the thought of like somebody being hoity-toity and you feeling insecure, that maybe that's not, you don't know, you don't have the knowledge or the luxury aspect or whatever. It's not the client for you. It's a people business. You know you're good at your job. You know you can source materials at that level. It's literally not going to be for you. If somebody is like that and has whatever that rub is, don't bring them on as a client, because that's going to end up backfiring on you. And like, I'm a huge believer in the connection. And like, I'm fortunate now that I'm in a position to be able to pick my clients.
Nice.
And I've had years where I'm not, and I have to be scrappy and I have to take them on. And when I take them on, I'm genuinely like, this is going to be a challenging, like our vibes we don't have rhythm and chemistry, whatever it is. And so like, I think that the more important part is if it feels hoity-toity and not on brand for you, don't take it. Keep that door closed. The other one will open,
Or if it's hoity-toity and that's your vibe.
Great. Yeah. Or if somebody's too casual for you, like a big thing for me is I am super creative and all the things, but I'm also like the other side of the brain, and I'm OCD, organized, process oriented. Like I run my process. I have everything followed up.
You're Rain Man.
Right. But I also follow everything up in writing. Like I run it like, any big meeting we have, we take meeting minutes. It's documented every single minute of that entire meeting. And we send it to our clients to initial and sign off that here's what we heard as this approved before we go spend time on something else. Like I run things kind of like corporate in that way for some things. And I just think that helps me also weed people out when it comes to picking certain types of clients. Because I'm like, are you going to be engaged and a great partner throughout this? Whether you're hoity-toity or you're super casual, whatever it is, that helps you kind of find what works for you.
Yeah, I'm looking at your website right now, and you actually have built a team around you, right? So we'll go back a little bit. You don't have AutoCAD. You're not trained in doing your chief architect or any of that. So I'm imagining that when you start branching out into doing these higher end projects, that's important, right?
Absolutely.
And that you have people on your team now that do that bit.
Everybody, yeah, everything.
Yeah. Okay. So at what point did you and your husband sit together and say, okay, we're doing these projects? Maybe they already existed. I'll find out soon. And okay, let's bring on designers who maybe have their NCIDQ or have this training to help flesh out that side of the business.
Yeah. I think it's when I started to get my own clients. I started to realize like, I'm not just the designer for my husband's developments. Now I have some own clients. I have like more work to do. I'm working so much in the business. It's taking me out of working on the business. Do I want to grow this thing? What's the marketing strategy? Like what, eventually socials come out. Like there's obviously, as you know, so much more to running a business than being in the weeds at a meeting telling you where the light fixture goes, right? No knock on that. Somebody's got to do that job. And I started there, but it wasn't going to be my highest and best use anymore. And so I made my first hire, which was just an assistant to support me first. And then it was an interior architect. And that interior architect worked with me for almost like, I think 7 or 8 years. She was with us for so long. And since ever that gave me a taste of, oh, wow, I really need this job. Like I really needed that. Like I didn't know what I didn't know, and this was within my second year of business is when I hired all that. So it wasn't like that late into the process, but my first hire was an assistant for me and an interior architect. And we could manage a lot of the business at that stage. And then we just started booming and I hired I think it was 2 or 3 more designers. And then my team had been around 5 for a long time from that point. So it was 1 interior architect, an assistant, and a couple designers.
That's a good number. And that's how I bridge the gap as well, right? Because as self-taught designers, we don't have a formal education. So when you're growing a business and you want to serve those higher end clientele, there's only so much time I am going to devote to sitting down and learning chief architect or sitting down and learning blueprints and all that. I'm not going to do that. I'm high level. I'm big picture, main aesthetic, design, what I know. I know my lane.
Exactly.
So I also hired out to help bridge that gap. And that is super smart. I don't think either one of us is saying, we did say earlier, we're going to wing it. We're going to learn as we go. I don't think either one of us is saying do that to detriment of your design or your client, right? We want to make sure that we have the support in place, but it's a catch-22. So designers who are just starting out or maybe are at the 2-year mark, I can't afford to hire right now to start doing that. I don't have the portfolio. So sometimes you have to hire ahead of it and then bring it in, which is a
scary.
struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about the pricing situation that you didn't charge a flat rate. Are you doing hourly or flat now?
I'll never do flat. Never do it.
Okay.
I have like a strong aversion to it.
And is that because
I got burned on one client who was like, I'm super decisive. I also was early in my career and I didn't know my value, but he freaking dwindled me down to accept doing a flat fee. And I was, again, new and didn't know yet.
Sure.
I lost so much money and sanity in them telling me, here's this flat rate. At the time, it was a lot of money in a bulk, but not over 2 years, not over 1,000,001 changes and indecisiveness. And like, it just ended up not being worth it at all. It was frustrating. And then once you, as a designer, or I think anybody in life, get to the point where you feel like you're not being compensated for your time, you start to like just kind of become disinterested and frustrated and like you lose your purpose in it. So that burned me. And then I had one kind of books before I started my company within that first year that my husband read and we kind of game planned together was the Kimberly Seldon book.
Oh yeah, I know Kimberly.
Yeah, like I can't remember the name of it. It was something in design. And that was just like doing a little research, being like, where do I start? And so she had like a 15-step program. And I remember kind of loosely basing whatever I had to give me some sort of infrastructure. Otherwise, like I have no clue. How do you think about billing? How do you do this? And so through that evolved and like obviously just going through it with my own clients and having the one client do the flat fee, I was like, hell no. I'm going to figure out what my hourly rate needs to be. And she's very firm on like having an hourly rate, knowing your worth and coming up with a proposal. At the time, like I can pop proposals out easy now. And what I do is I give a range of time it'll take to complete that project based on a similar scope job. At the time, I had no similar scope jobs. So like I just kind of was winging it like, okay, it's a single story ranch home, you want this, you want that, like just kind of coming together. And I would and have still, if there's a lot of changes and stuff, but like estimate, like you may go over your original estimate and then you have to have that hard conversation with the client. And that is one downside to billing hourly. But as long as I'm transparent every month and the way that we invoice is like so itemized, logged by time, similar to like an attorney or a CPA, we're able to manage it pretty well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. One of the plus sides of doing a flat rate, if you forecasted it correctly, is you're only asking for money a couple of times, right? Maybe for different phases instead of sending them the retainer situation and billing them. Or are you finding with a higher level of clientele that they give you less pushback on an hourly than, you know what I mean? Are they don't care? Or is that still, you just said you had to have an uncomfortable conversation from time to time?
Yeah.
Which is stressful. That's stressful for us
like
as business owners, right? Yeah, it is the worst. Are you finding that you get less pushback with a higher end clientele as far as that goes, or it's
not necessarily
or more?
Yeah, it could be more.
Mm-hmm.
I have just such a proven process, the enhanced way, that if somebody pushes back and wants me to lower my hourly rate or do flat fee, I just say no to their project. Like it has worked for me for all the right people. And obviously hourly billing can feel very daunting, which is why I come up with the range. We track it every month. We bill by the 5th of every month. Like I have a system for it. So when questions arise, if it does make somebody uncomfortable, I have all the answers. And if that still makes them uncomfortable and they want a designer with lower rates or a flat fee, great.
Yeah, I'm not your girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. You have some portfolio stuff coming into the project on the website. You're starting to build that design resume,
Yeah.
right? To show, let's talk a little bit about the marketing piece and your voice and your messaging. There had to have been a little bit of a switch there
Big time.
for who you're talking to, who your audiences are, and social's growing for you at this
Yeah.
time. So let's talk about your direction in marketing. And before you answer, I will say one thing that I see, and you can tell me if you did this or if you didn't, where I'll have interior designers coming to us at Wingnut Social because we do digital marketing for interior designers who will say, I would like to attract the top X percent and I want to do this and I want to do that. And maybe they'll have portfolio or maybe they won't.
Mm-hmm.
But then on their social, they're posting DIY stuff, paint color stuff,
Right.
stuff that doesn't resonate with that, which is a mistake in messaging,
For sure.
a mistake in your positioning, unless you want to be on HGTV, which you'd be great on, by the way.
Thank you. We've actually gone down that road a little bit, which I can fill you in later. And I was like,
I did that too a little bit, and then they didn't pick it up for whatever reason. I'm like, oh well, who cares? I didn't want that anymore.
not meant to be. It wasn't meant to be. Hey, what's meant for you won't miss you. I heard that, and I was like, oh, I love that. Let it go.
So let's talk a little bit about your marketing and your messaging, because you're a big design build firm now, right? So that had to grow from somewhere on that you have to do the marketing piece. So how did that change?
Well, first you got to get comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah. And you are, I see you.
I am now. Yeah. Like I love it now. Now I'm like, what am I going to post today? And I love trying to figure out what the message is that day, because sometimes it's related to a proposal I just sent out and it's going to be about a remodel, or sometimes it's about chopping pillows because I just got, a new furniture client. Like every day I think about it. I'm not the person who pre-plans them. We'll pre-shoot and have content days where we get a lot of footage and we know we can go put that in the bank, and we'll use that throughout in order to spread it out before we have our next content day. And content days, which actually I have one tomorrow, is going to be at 2 framed houses. And we'll compare that against the design package page. And we're just thinking ahead to plan for seeing a framed room and then seeing the fully furnished room. Right. So That's talking about now. But when we started, my first post had 10 likes, and it was my mom, dad, my boyfriend at the time, my brother, just family and friends. And then it was like that for a year. It just slowly grew. I would do all the hashtags to try to get it, everything you hear, try to support other accounts and all that. And then it's just been a slow burn. I don't even remember the year I started my Instagram, but even now it's slow because I don't sell product, which I noticed that a lot of designers' pages, they sell product, they have a lot of followers. And if they're DIY, if they're really helpful with tips and certain things like that, or both, or some combination, or if you share inspiration. I notice a lot of design pages who share crazy inspiration. That's a really great resource to go to. My page is me, my work, my company, my team, and we have grown a lot, but I just found a voice of being me, showing my work, talking about process. I think that's been helpful. I've gotten a lot of engagement when I talk about process, and I think there's just a lot of other designers out there in the community who are like, how do I do this? So there is that demographic, and then just consistency. It's just not letting seeing 10 views stop you.
Yeah.
And that's hard because it's so much work. It takes a lot of time to even think about your captions sometimes and how to capture, engagement really fast. And even now, some reels I'll get 2,500 views, and another I'll get 75,000 views. And I'm like,
there's so many variables.
I have
on Instagram.
No idea what works.
So the reason I'm asking about positioning and messaging, because at Wingnut, we develop marketing strategies for our clients, depending on who their ideal client is and their avatar. So when you are putting out the imagery, when you're putting the projects forward, when you're putting yourself forward and writing the captions, are you envisioning your luxury clientele reading that? Are you crafting them in a way that will resonate with them in particular?
For the most part, if I'm posting something, always yes. And then other times it'll be something to help with. I know I have a following of other designers who are interested in things I might have to say about solving a design dilemma, or, certain things that could be useful like that. So I'm talking to them sometimes, and I'm trying to attract a certain clientele that I know I want. Even now, I have some cool photos of old projects, but I won't post them because it's not the direction I want to head in. And I love those projects, but I'm like, that was me circa whatever year, and like
Yeah.
times have changed, design style, even though I still think they're pretty classic. I don't ever want it to give off that like, oh, that's all she can do. Because maybe somebody only sees that one post. So I am super, super mindful of making sure like I look through the image too and I'm like, I don't like the way that we put that vase right there. Somebody could judge that vase and be like, that's how she styles. And it just happens to be something that I liked in the moment and I don't like now, And so I'm very, very particular with what goes up.
Yeah, because what you put out there is what you're going to attract. More projects like that, right? What would be your best advice for interior designers who want to make that switch right now, tomorrow? They're serving middle class, they're doing paint color consultations, they're doing designer for a day, and that isn't what they want to do. They want to start breaking into this luxury market. Give us a couple of tips for them to start doing today or tomorrow.
Yeah. I think like we talked earlier, it starts with mentality. Like fake it till you make it, believe that that's what you deserve. Like your vibe is your tribe. Like any of those things that you can naturally fall to is what you're going to get. Like you attract what you are. And so for me, like I mentioned, like when I trademarked elevated everyday living, like I feel like I'm an elevated person and I try to connect, and naturally now I have those social settings, but I didn't when I started. And so I think I just believed that I always belonged there. So like starting with your mindset and not dimming your light or making yourself play small. Like if you think you deserve and you want to play big, play big. Find a way you will start to manifest it. I know that sounds kind of like granola and like, okay, let me think it. But like I truly genuinely believe in that. I'm like a very big like maker of your meaning, like where where focus goes, energy flows. I'm just spewing out quotes today. But like those are big ones. And like where focus goes, energy flows. Okay. So if you're focusing on only the paint, like maybe that's what you do to pay your bills. Great. But all your other stuff needs to be focused on whatever it is where you want to go. Right. So like finding the inspiration on Instagram, following those pages, going to certain events that might put you in front of people.
There you go.
Well, another thing could be like, go to open houses of really nice homes. You're in the company of people who could buy that house. I don't know. Maybe you meet someone when you walk out. Maybe you just start like, they have
some small talk. You know what I would do here?
Yeah. Yeah. Or you just meet them and you're like, oh, I live down the street. Like do the ones in your neighborhood so it's more organic. Like you just got to start putting yourself in positions to be around people who could do that.
And make that break. Make that break with that first project. Start putting that in your portfolio. I love it. Mm-hmm. Bre Hance, is there anything I've forgotten to ask you that you think would add to this topic before we get into the fire round?
I don't think so. I don't know. I think just always go back to like, just being you. Be authentic. You're going to connect with people.
And yeah, you don't have to be something you're not to get clients who you think you want.
And are you going to live a purposeful life if you do that? Maybe you got to do it for a little bit to get by, but then it's like, no, I'm going to stay true to who I am. And that's the other big thing that works really well on socials is like not trying to put out something you're not, and like you'll have your trial errors. I've tried things and I'm like, no. I even tried TikTok for a little bit and I was like, oh, not.
TikTok is a different animal. There's production that needs to go into TikTok.
I did some silly videos and like I was like, this just isn't me. I don't know. I gotta like not do that anymore. I still have the account up, but I don't ever log in.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Bre. Now I have to ask you: are you ready?
I'm ready.
I think so. All right.
Okay.
What would the hashtag on your tombstone be?
Lived life for a living.
That's pretty cool. I like it. You're stuck on a deserted island. You can have your one favorite food forever. What is it?
I go to something with peanut butter. I was thinking peanut butter pretzels, but I'd be really thirsty. So then I thought mango, because I was like, at least it'll hydrate me.
Mangoes?
Mango fruit. It's not my favorite fruit.
What if mangoes are already there?
Sweet. That's a good plus. I was just thinking about being thirsty. I'm like, how do I solve this problem?
Let's assume there's fresh water.
Okay, there's fresh water. Okay, my one food on a deserted island, bagels. And I have a refrigerator for my cream cheese.
I'm down with that. I love it. Last but not least, please recommend a book that has had an impact on you in one way or another.
All right. So I don't read a lot, but my husband reads a book a week, and it's a lot of like self-development books. He's not a fiction guy. It's all something related to that. So 2 books I'll mention. One, when we first met, because I was trying to impress him, I read a book, and it was called Getting Done by David Allen. It is like, I just remember it, and I remember the way he talks about, I think he has even a follow-up book to that. Getting done is actually one of my core values in my company. And it is just like, go in and get it done. Make yourself your list. But David Allen gives a tip that's like, don't just make your to-do list bullet points. Like next to it, put an action item. So like, I have to do this on my list, but then next it's like, okay, step 1, call so-and-so or whatever it might be that's related, right? So I really think that it was really helpful in me at the time starting out in my career. And then the second one I'd say is the Kimberly Seldon one. I feel like if it's related to design, that is a way to get started with some infrastructure. And I think she still has like classes and all that stuff that people can take, which is awesome. So it's a good starting ground.
Business of Design?
Yeah, Business of Design.
Yeah. So Kimberly Seldon, she's been a guest on this podcast, and I've been on her show a couple times. She's brilliant. She has helped a lot of interior designers, especially if you're looking to do the kind of high-end deal. Because Kimberly, there's nothing middle or low about Kimberly Seldon. Yeah, so that is a good first place to start. So you know how you're charging, all
of it. So, there's just so much depth and breadth in there that you're like, so if you're starting from scratch, I just feel like it was a very good playbook on what do I do first?
Yeah, she knows what she's talking about for sure. Alrighty, Bre Hance, thank you so much for joining us. Please tell the Wingnuts where they can go to find out more about you and InHance, and we'll call it a day.
Oh, I'm kind of sad to call it a day, but if I have to, website's InHanceDesignBuild.com, which could work for some of you guys to see a gallery. Otherwise, it might be a little boring, but I do have my process listed out on there if you're looking on how to think about process.
Nice.
And then I'd say follow me on Instagram, InHance Design Build.
Nice. And that's InHance with an I.
With an I. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us, Bre.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love talking to you.
Same. Bre, thank you so much for joining us. Remember, if you want to check out Bre, go to her Instagram at InHance Design Build. That's InHance with an I, the website of the very same name. We really appreciate you sharing your expertise and your journey on growing your business to high-end, more luxury interior design client. And I know that our conversation resonated with some interior designers out there. It's not easy to do, right? It's not easy to break out from decorating or doing designer for a day or the smaller projects, because it's hard to get the portfolio to show clients this is what you can do. You can do inspirational, aspirational renderings, designs. That's helped a lot of designers to show potential clients, this is my aesthetic. This is the kind of work I can do. Her sources, her tools that she gave out, highly recommend Kimberly Seldon. Any of her courses, any of her books are certainly helpful. My good friend Sandra Funk also has courses out there if you're more inclined to do a flat rate. She has tremendous courses. You can check out Sandra Funk. So there's a lot of ways to go about it, but the core principles, the structure, the framework, I think is very similar for everybody. The mindset, being yourself, knowing that the affluent clients are people. They're just people, just like you, just like me. So you can build those relationships just by being yourself and letting your talent show through. So thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, we are on YouTube, Designed by Wingnut Social over on YouTube. Check that out. You can see. Let me know what you think. If Bre looks a little bit like Miley Cyrus. So there you go. You have to check that out and you'll see some of her work on the channel as well. Head on over there, like and subscribe. And that is it for this week. Remember, until next time, to get out there, get uncomfortable, and be great.
You've reached the end of this episode of Designed by Wingnut Social. But that's only the first step into accelerating your business the Wingnut way. Head over to wingnutsocial.com or call us at 786-206-4331 to see how we can help take your business from meh to amazing. We'll see you on the next episode of Designed by Wingnut Social, your digital marketing tightly fastened.
Oh, I turned off my camera. I freaked out again. I was like, what now? My fan's still on. My menopause fan farts.